How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? So tonight we have a very special guest, Elaine the Trance Medium, and I'm sure a lot of you by now have already seen some videos of Elaine. This is something I've been very excited and looking forward to. And again, I think over the last 2 years, most people in the world that have been a part of the Great Awakening are starting to accept the spiritual world, accept more about spirituality, the inner self and different things. So tonight we're going to cover as much as we possibly can with Elaine, and obviously Johnathon too, hopefully. So how you doing, Elaine?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No, thank you for coming on. So really appreciate it. So yeah, over the last couple of weeks, I spoke to you a couple of times here in Elaine, and I've got to say, I've been very impressed going through all the videos. To me, it completely blew my mind when I first seen it. Your unique skill, and obviously, I think there's a lot of questions, not only myself and maybe other people would love to know about these things, and we'll run through a few questions tonight with yourself, and obviously, of course, maybe Johnathon after. So, I suppose really, before we came on a minute ago, you showed me a picture of the trance of Johnathon that you've managed to draw. Would you like to just show everyone, all the guests, everyone online, that picture you've drawn?
Yeah, that's how I didn't paint him. A friend of mine who's now passed on, she painted him. She was an artist, and he described himself to her, and it was exactly right because I saw him in a dream years later. Oops, I'll put it back a bit.
That's it, yeah.
That's my guy, Johnathon. Yes, that's who speaks through me. He's wonderful.
And could you tell us a little bit about Johnathon? From what sort of era? And you say that the 1800s he came from.
That's right. He came from the 1800s. He was born in Islington in London. He was married in St Mary's Church, which I later visited years later. Two of my friends took me there. He claimed to know me in that lifetime. Said I'd lived in that lifetime as Mary Ann Ellsworth, which had sort of said it out of the blue, As I thought, wow, it's a bit of a shock. Said that I was born in 1855, 10 years his junior. Went to work in his house, like as a maid, and met him, and he seemed to know something, feel something, that we were connected. But when he came to me in this life, I obviously didn't remember him, but as soon as he connected with me, I remembered him. Oh, are you still there? Because it breaks up a little bit. I hope everyone can hear.
Yeah.
But I went into, after a few months of starting the trance, I went into my neighbour's house. She used to live next door, but she's left there now, obviously. And she asked me to do the trance. Well, I'd only been doing it a few months, and I'd had no memory of who came through in this trance all the way through now. But at the end, I perfectly remember my guide suddenly said, well, here I am. My name's Johnathon. I'm Elaine's guide. And, oh, the love was just incredible. I never felt anything like it. It was incredible. I just felt like it lit up the whole of my being, and like stars were twinkling inside of me, and, my soul recognized him. Yet the ego mind thought, well, who is this? Where have you been all my life? And, who are you? And do I know you? And I do know you. And all sorts of questions went through my mind. So it took quite a few years for me to trust in it, that it wasn't some sort of altered ego. But every time I tried to mistrust it, my heart would tell me otherwise. My higher self would say, no, this is right. This feels right. And then the old ego would come in again and batter it about and say, oh, is this a soul trying to take over or what have you? But no, it just feels so right. I have to go by what I first felt. And so I visited his church years later, and that was quite emotional, very emotional. Two good friends of mine on Facebook offered to come and take me there. And I spent time researching him. And he said in our circle that the church had been bombed in the Second World War. So I thought, right, cool, I'm going to look that up, see if it's all true. And I went on the internet, typed in the St. Mary's Church, and it had been bombed in the Second World War, and the end tower had remained. And I thought, wow, he's just told the truth about this church. Just thought, whoa, this is crazy. And the more I got into it, and the more I tried to discover things, it was crazy. The guides are real. There's no doubt about it. Some of the experiences I've had when I've been with him, I've witnessed healing that people have had. I've sort of gone away from my consciousness in the room, and my consciousness has been elsewhere and witnessed him healing people. So it's been quite an amazing journey.
Yeah, you sent me a video. You sent me a personal video, didn't you, of a lady that came to your house, and I seen that video, so that was quite a smart one. I suppose really for this, if I look at it from, and most people surely would agree, from a spiritual world point of view, they say that we come into the physical, we lose all memory of what happens before. And I suppose for your case, if you and Johnathon knew each other in the previous life, then he was aware that he was going to be your guide, and you probably both knew that this is what it would lead to, that one day you'd be, connect and bond again. And of course, do what you're doing now. I suppose really that's probably what's known from that point of view. I do like to believe in the previous lives and stuff now. And the more I've learned about it, the more I can say honestly I believe it, and it does make sense. So I would have struggled with this 2 years ago. I would have gone out my way to find as many excuses as I could to try and say, something's not right, because I was so hardened, or my ego was so strong. And I suppose once I started to let go of that and really accept these things about the spiritual world and spirituality, of course, it changed me. And my studies changed a bit more then. And I thought, you know what? This is all I ever want to do now, is to learn more and more about myself and about the higher self and the subconscious, and losing the ego, as they say. But obviously, I'll also mention that with Johnathon about ego deaths and the difference of that. Because I know that people would believe the best way of getting I suppose maybe from a trance point of view, or like a guide from Johnathon, another way of looking at it, to find your inner self or your higher self, you need to lose the ego.
Yeah, the ego's quite hard to lose, I mean, I'm a battle with my own ego at times, I think, but to let go and allow our spirit to come through sensibly, I feel loved, I feel protected. I've seen the darker side of it. I must admit, I had to be tested and go through the darker side of it, and that was pretty. It didn't last that long, but it was pretty much of a test for me to say, well, yes, I do need to protect myself while I'm doing this, and I made a point of doing that. So I said to him, if you're going to come and work with me, I only want the light. I said, nothing else. I want the light. I've been through my test now. That's it. If you mess about with this anymore, I'm not doing it. So they have to work properly with me. I demand that, and they do that. And it's getting better and better. Is the earthly me is a little bit of a nuisance, because sometimes she gets in the way a little bit, but I do try and kind of push the old ego out the way a bit as I go into the trance, because I can hear, and I can hear him talking. I can feel his face over mine. Oh, it's a lovely feeling that we're loved. We're never not loved. We're safe. We're on the right path. Whatever we go through, our soul has chosen, and that's. He says that's why these mediums know that what's happening in the future, because obviously our soul has planned it. And they say, can you change it at any time? I don't know if you can or you can't, but it's already mapped out, I do believe. They say, he says the word destiny means that, that's obvious that your soul has mapped out your life. So
before coming in, you might know exactly what your destiny is, but of course, when you're birthed, you lose all memory of it all.
You have an amnesia, yeah, because otherwise, if you knew what was happening every day, it wouldn't work. Be an adventure. Life wouldn't be an adventure, and you'd be worrying all the time about when you're going to pass. But I believe myself, I don't know if it's right, but I feel like you could go in for transfiguration mediumship, where that's where the face alters, you relax, you close your eyes, and the guide steps into your energy and impresses their features onto yours, over the top of yours. Yeah.
Wow.
So you know, I like the fact that more young men are coming into this, because in times gone by, men are saying, "Oh no, I don't know about that. That's for you women. You go and enjoy your stuff." But more young men are coming into it. I've really noticed that. Just this last couple of years, I've noticed men are coming forward, and they're not older men, they're younger men like yourselves. I'm thinking, wow, this is just something else. Young men coming into this and believing in it, and this is what I so wanted, for these men to come forward and believe in this afterlife, and to know that when I've gone over to the other side and other older mediums have gone to the other side, that all these young people, young men, young women, can be here to carry it on, and to tell people about your journeys, and give the other younger ones, the younger than you, the experience, and it goes on and on. You know, I want that to happen, and it seems to be happening. I mean, it really does.
Yeah, definitely. It's I think there's a lot, as we call it, the Great Awakening, running alongside a very bad time at the same time. And I suppose it has to kind of run side by side. You know, you've got to kind of see the dark in order for everyone to start progressing toward being something different.
Yeah,
I'm glad that,
from
one point of view, I'm almost glad the last 2 years happened. You know, because it's changed me. It's given me a whole new purpose. I don't really know if I had a great purpose in my life before, apart from my children. But the way I look at it, I weren't driven, you know, for anything like I am now. I'm constantly driven, and my drive is to learn more about the whole world we're living in, everything, the consciousness, you know, and that's why every single day I can't stop, you know. So I think that's the good thing that I've took from it.
That's amazing then, because now I know I can believe what my guide said about this time of going through the darkness, the whole world, the whole people of the whole world going through this darkness, and something great coming out of it. Even before it happened, you know, I used to get a feeling of anticipation and excitement inside me, and say, I know something big's happening somewhere. And other people have said it too. They feel that something big's coming, you know, and I think it is. I think a huge change coming in this world, and the people are kind of, right, no more of this. We're going to enlighten ourselves, come together, and get to know each other, and be as one, and wake up the world, and make it a better place. You know, you've got to be strong. It's not easy, and so many people have broken down in it all, and they've not survived through it. They've not got through it. You've got to be damn strong to get through all of this. You've got to be. It's going to be a hard time ahead. It's going to be, you know, I know we're not going into certain subjects, but there will be testing times, and you're going to have to be strong emotionally. It's not easy. So, you know, I hope that there will be some strong people out there. And like yourself, you've gotten through it all so far. Look what it's done for you. You wouldn't be sitting here now otherwise. So, you know, in a way, the bad things are sometimes very intense, but they lead us to something greater. You know, so.
And it has, I think it has for a lot of people. A lot of people now, they're seeing the world with their new eyes, and you can't turn back. So I think that'll be one of the things I was hoping to speak to Johnathon about, and say, you know, has he got any advice for people? Because I believe a lot of people are going to lose people over the next few years, etc. And a lot of people already have, I suppose, over the last couple of years. And I think really to think that's it is the sad story, but it's not the truth, is it? The world we're living in is kind of it's broken-minded. Most people think, look, I did for my whole life. I trying to drum it into people that you're born, you die, that's it. You know, and I was so far wrong, wasn't I? So I think that's the good thing about trying to get out of that, frame of mind.
If you were just born and you died, I mean, what would be the purpose of that massive universe out there? What would be the purpose of planet, the beauty within it, the stars, the moon, the whole universe is absolutely fantastic. I mean, what I've felt from it is just amazing. I can't turn back, Once you're on this journey, there's no turning back. There's no turning back. You could have a choice and say, well, I want to turn away from it, but it just drags you back in another way, a shape or form. I ain't turning back from this. Some of the experiences I've had, I've met Jesus. I've met him. He's real. He's absolutely real. He's not religion at all. I mean, sometimes religion helps people. They come into a church and they feel like they've renewed themselves. That's good. But it's not religion. It's not. He's pure love, pure light, pure spiritual. And it's just, it's just beautiful who he is. The love that he gives is incredible. And he shook my friend's building to the core. When he left there, he shook the whole house. All the doors flew open inside the house, except the room we were sitting in, and the house shook after I saw him. I only remember it a couple of hours later, but I remember the house shaking. There weren't no earthquake. It shook. And this was before all this, long before all this was due to happen. But it's like he knew, and he was coming to say, right, okay, I pick you. You've picked this. You've picked that, And it's like I was face to face with him. I weren't too close. I was about, say 6-7 feet away, and he was slightly to the left of me. And he just looked at me, and I looked at him, and then it was gone. I was back in my body, and I thought, well, what does he want of me, And this is obviously what he wanted. I said, look, if this ain't for me, take it all away then. If I'm not doing the right thing, then take, but it hasn't. It's just got more and more. And I thought, well, this is obviously what he wants. I'll do what he wants. He's real. He's absolutely real. There's no doubt about it. And I see him in people.
I believe I'm quite a good judge. And from the very first time I watched the first video, I was sold at that. I thought, you know what? Even though generally my ego would have tried to find, like you say, excuses, I went through them in my head, but I watched it and I thought it felt right. And I think everything was timed perfectly. If, like I said, if I watched it 6 months ago, or a year ago, should I say, I probably would have almost overlooked it for that reason. But this is all perfectly timed, I believe, for the time of the world we're in, what everyone's going through in the world. And this is the right path. This is the right way now. We're starting to accept that there is more beyond what we can see with our general eyes. And it's a conscious thing, isn't it? That's why I think, again, this conscious web we talk about, I suppose the spiritual world is part of that conscious realm. And that's why I suppose a lot of questions people ask are, are yourself and Johnathon able to connect with people's lost ones, and get messages and pass back and forth? Is that something you say is generally possible, or is it difficult?
Yeah, he does do that. He does a mixture of things. He tells people the things that are going to happen in the future, and they've come true. I've got my friend Shane there, and he was sleeping on his aunt's sofa and that, and Johnathon told him what was going to happen, and it's all happening. And their baby predicted that as well, and their baby came. He's here now. It's just amazing. Spirit are. There's just no limits to them. I've seen so many things now. I've seen Robin Williams beside my bed, physically seen him kneeling beside my bed, smiling at me. So the more I see, the more I experience. It just gets crazy. Stuff's like synchronized beyond belief. In this world is so much synchronicity in that they tell you the truth, the guides. They tell you the truth. That you listen to them and you think, oh, is that me? Or is it them? Or is it just me thinking it? Or is it wishful thinking? And you think, can't be, surely. And you do question it. I question things still even now. And then when it comes true, you think, oh my God, that is real. And but the synchronicity is just getting more and more and more. And I'm pretty sure that, time's moving quicker and stuff like that. And there's just so much stuff they tell you, and then it comes true and you think, what the heck? Why was I doubting all that in the first place? It's all come around.
A couple of weeks ago, we was on the phone, and I was talking to you about a few things, and at one point you said that you're literally in contact with Johnathon there and then. Like, he was obviously almost a part of the conversation, the way it came across, and then you explained that, fair enough, you go into trance mode for him to use your body sort of thing to speak through, but then you're in constant contact, or you can at any point kind of like hear his voice. So I suppose really for me, I have my voice, which is my ego. It's my own voice when I think. But then to imagine another voice coming into your mind, that sounds like a whole new thing and very interesting.
It is interesting. So do you want him to come through now, or?
Yeah, certainly. Let's go for it.
Yeah,
let's have a go.
Well, I like music to sort of make me.
You carry on, yeah. Whatever you need to be comfortable, yeah.
That's all right. I'm a music head. I mean, sometimes with Tom, we don't do music on the YouTube lives and that because of copyright. So he wants to try and get somebody to do some music for us so that we can use it with their permission and stuff.
Yeah.
I think we'll do that in time,
I've been down that road, and I paid for music off iTunes and stuff, but again, you start putting them onto the videos onto YouTube and different places, it doesn't make a difference. It's a right pain with the copyright.
A lot of people have copyright on their music, and rightly so. Obviously, it's their music,
Well, I'll be as clear as I can when Johnathon comes through, and obviously I'll go through a few questions. I'll be as clear as I can and just let him talk, and
Okay.
I shall hold back and make sure I get it timed correctly so I don't interrupt him at all, and hopefully he'll hear me perfectly and get some things covered. I'm looking forward to this. Now, for everyone watching, it might take a few minutes, so I'm going to go deadly silent while Elaine goes into a trance, so just bear with us.
Good evening, sir. I hope that you can hear me. Are you there? I am Johnathon, and hopefully the reception has kept going. If there are any problems, I will bring Elaine back. I am happy to be here. I have been working with Elaine for many years of her life. She has dedicated her time to working with Spirit. So I'm happy to answer any of your questions, if you so wish.
Thank you for joining us, Johnathon.
Thank you.
So my name's Richard Short. Was you aware that you were going to be talking to me tonight?
Of course, yes. Everything is preconceived.
Brilliant. Thank you. I've been looking forward to this so much. So we have a few questions. I'll try and be as clear as I can throughout all the questions and give you plenty of time to run through things. So I really appreciate that. I suppose really it's a very interesting time in the world at the moment, and there's a lot of confusion, a lot of people worried and scared out there. But at the same time, we also understand it's the Great Awakening. People's consciousness are rising. So yeah, it's a very interesting time.
I must say it is. Yes. It is a huge awakening, not only with individuals, but with everyone that is walking upon this earth has felt some sort of difference within themselves. Of course, not all are believing in the existence of the afterlife. But when I say to you the huge awakening is here and it is getting more and more prevalent to people that something different is happening in the world, you see, in order for the awakening, even for an individual to take place, the truth has to be revealed. And so therefore, many truths in your world shall be revealed, and no stone shall be left unturned. But a lot of you are beginning to awaken to your higher selves. And I must say that that is a wonderful experience and much of an enlightenment to discover. So yes, a huge awakening before your very eyes. But I also mentioned that the mass exodus would take place. And of course, that is already beginning, unfortunately. So the human beings are going to have to be fairly strong, as I have explained to Elaine, to be able to cope with what is going to be happening. But I do not like to be the bringer of negativity, but it is the truth, and it shall be, unfortunately. But these souls have chosen to help the truth to come to your world, and it shall inevitably be. And so the Great Awakening will go further forward, and progression shall take place. I think that it'll be a chance for the human beings to perhaps stand up for themselves and their own freedom. It shall carry on, I do believe, but it is creating improvement in some way or another. But the other side of the fence is yet to be jumped over to, and the grass is not always greener on the other side. So I shall say to you, be strong with fortitude, and you will get through it. I would say that everyone goes through a period in their life where they are tested, but this is utterly different. This is on a huge scale, and it hasn't finished yet. So your guides are with you, comforting and loving you along the way. But what we suggest is that you find yourself within. What we suggest is that do not delve yourself so much into something that you may not understand, but begin to introduce yourself to you. And if you do that, you will live a much more joyous life. And you will get through these testing times because you will have something wonderful to look to. The most important journey is the journey of you. You will only ever be the only one that will live your journey. No one else can live it for you. You are always going to be you. You cannot be anybody else but yourself. So this is your journey. This is your life, beginning, middle, and end. And the afterlife, yes. So I do hope that some of your questions.
Yes, certainly. Jonathan, would you be able to tell me, I suppose, because I believe you was from around the 1800s. There's a lot of talk at the moment in the world about around the 1800s, there was meant to be some sort of, they call it a reset, and maybe some sort of mud floods. Do you know anything about that, do you, from your time?
There were the great floods, yes. And some of the buildings and areas were destroyed. But of course, man, being strong with fortitude, picked up the pieces and repaired things. And they began to rebuild their lives again after such trauma.
Thank
so
you.
I believe that a lot went on in the 1800s, yes.
Yeah, a lot of information has came out over the last year or two. People have seen a lot of information about the 1800s. Could you tell us a little bit more about after the physical body dies? I've seen a few of Elaine's videos with yourself, but I know some of my viewers and guests might not have. With the after-death process, now, is it immediately the conscious, the being, ourselves, if when the physical body dies, we are met with people from the spirit world to comfort us? I think you've put it before. Could you tell us a little bit about the after-death process?
Well, I would say each individual has a different experience. For instance, if you listen to near-death experiences, they will give their story of what had happened to them and how they felt perfectly joyous in entering the spirit life. And they will come back to tell their experiences to help alleviate people's fear of passing over to the other side. So I will give you an example of what happened to me when I went to the spirit world. It was very sudden, of course. I passed over to the spiritual side with a heart attack. And I first raised above my body. Having looked at that body, I was above it. And I felt very free, very light, very wonderful. In fact, I didn't really want to enter back into that body by that time. The body looked very ill, very pallid, and laying still. And while others were seeing to me, I was thinking, well, you know, that looks like me laying down there. I feel really wonderful. And I floated around, and I watched the people tending to me and calling for the doctor to come. Because in those days you didn't have ambulances and all of that sort of thing. They would call for a doctor. And of course, when the doctor did eventually come, you know, it was too late. I had already passed. But I noted, as I looked to my left, I could see somebody, and I could see my grandmother. She looked very radiant, very happy, and I spoke to her in my mind, and I said, have I passed? And she is saying to me, Johnathon, it is time to come home. Take my hand. And she led me into what looked like beautiful warm light, and then she disappeared. But I was thinking to myself, where has she gone? But I could hear her voice, and then it faded. And I found myself in the light. But around that light seemed to be very universal. I could see everything. I could hear children laughing, and I could hear people's voices that I recognized but didn't seem to know in life. Maybe they had passed before me. And once I came right into the light, I was put in front of what you call God, you see, a being of all-encompassing light. It was so beautiful, powerful. There was no judgment. There was only love, and everyone looked so happy. My grandmother appeared again. She smiled at me. She knew that I was going to go to God and be shown my life. But first, I wanted to meet everybody. I could see my grandfather that had passed before me, and many other relatives that were distantly related to me all came around and introduced themselves to me. I seemed to know them. And before I knew it, I was placed before my life. I was shown most of the poignant moments of my life. And those moments, some of them I had been a little selfish. Some of them I had argued with my father. And some of them I had loved the people that I had loved. And I had done good things with them. So all of the 45 years that I had lived, I had never become spiritual. I had only ever been to the church on a Sunday with my family. It was tradition in those days. Most people just relied on Sunday and religion. And we had Bibles, but I didn't take too much notice of them because I was always very busy. Sometimes I would call out to God if I needed help, but I never really delved into it. But when I experienced his love, there is nothing like it. Nothing can compare. The love of heaven is so beautiful. It is endless, eternal, light. Everything is lit up. Everything is so clarified. The colors, stunning. Everything is alive. You touch it and it sparkles with life. I was so happy to be home. And I never wanted to go back. So that is why I decided to stay.
Thank you, Johnathon. Would you be able to tell us the difference between, like yourself, a spirit guide and a guardian angel? And with the spirit guide, how is it people that might be interested in trying to connect with theirs, what would be best for them to start considering to do?
Well, the best thing to consider to do is to connect with your guide. Perhaps ask them to send you signs that they are there. Perhaps meditate and ask them to connect with you. There are many ways in which we are very good at sending signs to people. Oh, yes, we are. In the way of guardian angels and spirit guides are there to help to lead you back to yourself, to support you through your troubled times and your wonderful times in life. They are here to help to guide you back to the true self. and perhaps to work with you spiritually if you were to choose to. We are always going to be there, but a guardian angel is an angel, an army of love. Each one is assigned to each soul that incarnates into this world. And they are there to give you a nudge and pull you back, guide you along the way, and sometimes save you in certain circumstances. They will always be there for you. They are pure light. They do not need to incarnate to the earth. They are at the highest point, but they choose to be assigned to you, to protect you and to love you. So the difference is, they are right next to God, yet they choose to be assigned to the people. And we are spirit guides. We are still learning. We are still ascending. Although we are in a high place, we still have much to learn. The angels are pure beings of light. We are beings of light. But they are direct from God. They are so pure. They have so much love to give you. I hope that answers your question.
Does, thank you. Yes, Jonathan. Could you elaborate a little bit on the word ascension? Because that word has been quite well known over the last 2 years, and a lot of people, I suppose, are trying to understand exactly how ascension works. If you can tell us a little bit about that, that'd be great.
Ascension means an upward movement, a raising of, doesn't it? A raising upwards. Goodness me, we have a little cat fighting out here.
Yep.
Yes, I will go and stop them. But ascension is meaning raising up. It is ascending with your soul. Looking at it from a human point of view, becoming spiritual, understanding that there is more to life than just you yourself. There is a soul that is a being of light that is alive and buzzing inside of you. Ascension is growing spiritually, becoming aware of everything that is, becoming aware of the universe that surrounds you, becoming aware of your higher self, becoming aware of spirituality, and becoming aware of self-love, becoming aware of knowledge and speaking out, bravery, courageousness. All of that is involved in the awakening, the ascension, the raising of souls, the raising of wisdom and knowledge, the awareness of all that is. So when you ascend, you can only ever go forward, onwards and upwards. There is no going back. Nothing is ever going to be the same again. Souls are ascending because they are becoming aware of the realization of what really is, what is truth. But during their ascension, they will still be learning, because learning is eternal. It never ends, even in our world.
Thank you, Jonathan. Could you tell me, because in one of the other videos you've done before with Elaine, you mentioned that we do live in a realm. Would you be able to tell us a little bit about that? So I understand, if I was to picture from growing up the word heaven, people always look up into the sky and picture something up there. Obviously, there's got to be, like you say, two worlds, the physical world and, of course, the spiritual world. How does the realm part fit into that? What would you say about that?
Well, there are many realms, you see. Realms are higher or lower than another, but you are not seen as higher or lower than another in spirit. You are all as one, but you move through the realms of spirit. So there are the lower realms of spirit, and there are the higher realms of spirit. There is the negative in your world, there is the positive in your world. So there is the negative of everything and the positive of everything that exists here on earth and in heaven. And if you do the right thing, you go to the light. But your soul will try out the realms, you see. It will go through many, many lifetimes and many experiences through from negative to positive, through the realms of spirit and the realms of the earth. This is the physical realm that you are in. It is the earth, the physicality, and it is a realm. It has similarities to heaven in the way that it looks, and in the way that it breathes life, and in the way that it is natural and everything fits. So you see, it all has the greater purpose for the greater good. You have the earthly realm, you have the lower realms of spirit, and you move through each realm, through each lifetime. The more knowledge you gain, the more you start to love yourself, the more you start to become spiritual. You move through to these higher realms of spirit through each passing after each incarnation, until you become so high that there is never any need to incarnate again. You become pure light. It is like a moth to the light that wants to get to the closest form of that light and become it. So it is molding itself into it and becoming so much a part of God that no longer needs to incarnate. So you see, it is all about raising upwards. You say about looking into the heavens, and you imagine the heavens to be clouds and light. Well, I guess you could say it is. If you visualize it that way, it can be anything that you wish it to be, but it is above, below, and all around, really, because we are constantly connecting with your world. But when you look at ascension and raising upwards, the minute you think of that, you look up. You see, you don't think about looking forwards or sideways or backwards. You immediately think of ascension as being upward. But it is a raising of an awareness of spirituality and one's higher self. And heavens, well, I guess you could say, well, heaven's above, they say, don't they? As above, so below. So I guess you could say, again, it's raising upwards. If a soul is going to come out of its body, as I explained to you previously, when I looked at my body, I was up in the air. So I raised upwards out of my body. I ascended to the heavens. It is true. You go upwards. So I guess when you look up like that, it doesn't mean to say that we are in the clouds. It means to say that our soul has ascended to a higher place. That is what it is meaning. That is why it is depicted as being above.
Thank you, Jonathan. In regards to the spirit, the word spirit and the word soul, is there any way of killing the soul or the spirit? No.
It is immortal. Absolutely immortal. I think that sometimes if people have near-death experiences and they are saved, but they go across and they are perhaps passing in terrible circumstances, perhaps they have passed through suicide, you see, and they're not going to go yet, but they have attempted to take their lives. Some of them will go into the darkness. And some of them will say, well, I had the worst terrible experience. I had things clawing at me. I had, evil things. I thought that if I stayed there a moment longer, my soul would be destroyed. It cannot be. It is utter nonsense. Your soul is immortal. Nothing can kill it. But most of them call out to God and they immediately go into the light, you see, because the darkness is not their place. But they have gone across in such a terrible state of emotion that those beings from the lower realms have preyed upon that and dragged them into it and tried to keep them there in their state of mind. So you see, once you call out to God, the light is instantly given to you. You are loved. Well, I would say nearly all the souls go to the light. And if they don't straight away, they will eventually. It is only the few that go across in that state. And most of them, if they are going to stay there, they will keep reincarnating and eventually become a good person, and their soul will be raised to the higher realms of spirit. So your soul cannot be killed. It is immortal. It is eternal.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. Would you know who my guide is? Or could you say anything about my journey or my destiny or my path so far?
Yes. Your guide is Edward. He is very strong with you. And he is saying to you, your path is synchronized. You had to go through all of this before you came to the realization of life after physical death. Before you met your higher self, you would have to go through all of these tests first. Because you have seen the world in the state that it's in, it has helped you to become more empathic, which has woken you up. You see, and he is very, very happy and very proud of you now. He was always proud of you anyway. He always loved you as a brother. You see, you were around in the times of battle. You have lived your life as a Viking. And this is the first time that you have been back since then. So it's fairly new to you. Living in the physical world hasn't been easy. He is your guide, and he will always be with you, and he will never fail you. Yes, the God of Thunder. The empowerment within you has awoken, and it shall never be the same again. I hope that helps you.
Thank you, Jonathan. It certainly did. That was absolutely beautiful. Would you, before passing Elaine back, would you be able to tell everyone a little bit about the subconscious and the conscious, and maybe what the difference is between the two?
Well, the higher consciousness is the higher self. The subconscious has a great connection to that. I would say if you're going to go into dream state, most of your dreams will be of thoughts that you've had during the day that are all muddled up and created into somewhat of a confusion dream, you see, or a mixed up dream. And that is your subconscious playing back thoughts that do not really particularly need to be there, but it'll empty out the subconscious and it'll come out of this confused state of dreams. So when you go to sleep, the subconscious awakens. And if there are any troubled thoughts in your mind from years ago or from recent actions and things that have happened in your life, perhaps trauma, it will play them out to you in a form in a dream, you see. It'll play them out and say, well, this is what you need to deal with in your life, and I'm going to keep throwing it at you symbolically until you deal with it. So take note of your dreams because they have great meanings. They are symbolic, and this is the subconscious mind sort of reenacting in a way that is going to be explaining to you gently that you need to deal with things in life and let them go. Then you've got the even higher self. You see, you've got the ethereal self. And that is the soul within. And when you go into a certain state of sleep, a deep state of sleep, that higher self will move into the astral. So between your earth and between the spirit world, there is a place that is the astral plane. You see, it is the astral. And human beings, when they go to sleep, sometimes they will feel that their dreams are very lucid, or they may feel as if they are flying around in their dreams. Well, they have left their physical state of mind, and the body is still going to exist and be alive because there are several states of mind. And you will go into the ethereal being and become part of the astral, along with others that are all joining you in the astral, because not all of them are physically dead. You may see people that you haven't seen before. They may be reflections of yourself, or you may bump into your loved ones that will come to see you in the astral. They do not necessarily reside in the astral because they are in the realms of spirit, but they will come down and be with you in the realms of the astral to connect with you and tell you how much they love you. You can hold them again. They seem physical to you, but it is usually very brief. You will only stay in the astral for a period of time, sometimes only for a minute or two. Not even that. It may seem longer, but you will certainly come back into your physical. Sometimes you will come back with a bit of a bump. But I would say to you, the subconscious mind is a very powerful thing. It is a part of the ego too, because the subconscious mind is therefore playing out your fears in your everyday life and telling you, come on, we're giving you a nudge here. We want you to let go of that. And until you do, he's going to keep prodding you. So there are so many states of mind, and the mind is indelibly powerful. You have heard of people that can do things that you would never have thought of. They have the determination and the empowerment to be able to do it. Or you may hear of a genius child that comes into the world and plays a piano and knows every note. How do you know that they have not been a pianist in their previous lifetimes and they still have the subconscious knowledge of it coming back with them into this life? Geniuses. You see? All have the consciousness, which is limitless. You could use that to your greatest advantage. That is the difference between the two.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. I would say you definitely helped me recognise that my purpose is to try and keep doing what I'm doing, helping humanity the best I can, be a better person and try and help put some more care into the world. Would you be able to give a bit of a message? So this is not a question, just a bit of a message for all the viewers and people in the world right now that would see this video. Maybe a bit of guidance for them, for their journeys while we're going through this strange transition in the world.
Well, I would say be strong, be courageous with fortitude. Even in your darkest moments, know that you are eternally loved. If you are feeling down, then look to the heavens, look to your guide, look to your being that you call God to help you. And if they do not answer straight away, you are not left alone. I would say live your life to the fullest. Discover who you are. And then use that to help others and yourself. The first person to love in life is you, because it is your journey. It is not anybody else's but yours. You can look to others for inspiration, for love, for guidance, for comfort. And you can look to us for that. But what you do with your journey is entirely up to your soul. You are just living the movie that it planned. So I would say through this time of testing, you will come out of the other side of it feeling different, feeling stronger, more determined and brave to face the rest of your life. If you feel that you are down, talk to somebody about it. Don't hide it. Don't feel as if you have to have a shield up all of the time. You are human. You are made of emotion. Let your emotions flow free. You do not have to keep them inside of yourself and hide them away. You were made from love. You come from love. You go back to love. Do not forget to love yourself. You are just as important as any other being on this earth. You are beautiful. You have a soul within that is eternal. Talk to it. It will answer you. It is your higher self, your intuitiveness. Know that it loves you. You will never not be loved. Even if humans fail to love you, you can always love you. But we will always love you without fail. Some people come and say, well, I have prayed 1,000 times and I have still not been answered. But everything is in the perfect divinity of time. Time is what you live by. The universe does not have time. It waits for no man. You could have 1,000 clocks. It doesn't even think about that, because everything happens synchronicity. That is what synchronicity is. It's divinity of time. I expect that you have noticed some of that synchronicity in your lives just of late. It seems to be happening more and more. Yes, it does. Take note of it. Everything is for the perfect reason. And all of this, you may think it is terrible, but the truth has to surface, and this is the only way that it could happen. So be strong, and know that you will come out of the other side of it. Things will be different, but smiles will be on people's faces. People will be in the streets, praising of their braveness and their fortitude and coming together and being as one. That's how it should be. Before that, you weren't even taking any notice. Now you are. Know that this is for a reason. Enough already. The negative and the positive shall be rebalanced. It'll take time, yes, but it shall be. What you see as some of the plans that you think are going to be will not turn out that way. You may think, well, how could it be possible? But anything is possible. So I implore you to go inside of yourself and meet you and trust your higher self, because it will never ever fail you. Don't question it. Just allow it to be, because it always turns out to be right in the end. Use it as your comfort, as your cushion in life. It'll always be there. And we will always be there for you as your guides. I guess I'd better take my leave. I know that Elaine is growing tired. But I have enjoyed conversing.
Thank you very much, Jonathan. And I will. Thank you very much, Jonathan. I'll look forward to seeing you in the spiritual.
Well, you won't have to wait until you physically die to do that. I shall speak.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you very much, Elaine.
That's all right. Good now.
Thank you very much. That was absolutely beautiful, to be honest. Very powerful.
That's all right. You're welcome.
To be honest, I felt so nervous doing all of this tonight because it's just so different from my usual sort of videos. It was I felt really nervous, but you know, I didn't probably cover half the things I probably would have liked to have asked or for other people. I suppose I was just thrown off track a little bit, and it's like a miracle, isn't it? This it's absolutely amazing. So
Well, you know, it's what I believe in. And, you know, it hasn't been easy for me coming on cameras and doing all this in my life. I'm quite a shy, nervous person inwardly, which I'm, of course, trying to overcome. And so that part of it isn't easy, facing cameras and facing crowds of people. But, you know, you can do anything if you put your mind to it. You can do anything. I mean, you've got to be able to be brave, strong, and try and face your fears. And the only way that you can face your fears is be confronted by them. And then, you know, you don't even have to put a shield up. We do as human beings. We get scared of things. It's normal, you know. But put yourself in the middle of it, and you say, "Well, I'm glad I did that. I got over that one. Where's the next one?" So life is all about hurdles, I'd say. And you know, I'm the least person that would want to go out in front of crowds and be. I prefer to sit quiet in my corner, and I go into a restaurant. I'd rather sit in the corner and eat. You know, I'm not a person that's sort of looked for fame or anything like that. I guess this all just happened, and my guy did discuss it with me, and I said, "Well, what am I going to do?" And he said, "You'll be all right. I'll take care of you. Don't worry." And he has done so far. So
it's your purpose. It's definitely your purpose, and I think he's helped me back up what I believe my purpose was. Because you know, many years ago, I had warrior spirit never dies. Well, I didn't believe in spirits. Warrior spirit never dies. Well, many years ago, my friend Matthew did that, and I don't believe in spirits.
Oh, that's weird, isn't it?
But it's but there's obviously a purpose. I've always had that fighting mind, and I think the last 2 years I've realised I was fighting for humanity, fighting for change, fighting for truth. So it was really good for me to hear what I heard off Johnathon about myself and my guide and stuff like that. So that was really good. And I'm sure obviously this has enlightened a lot of people tonight. And this video hopefully will go, you know, very far and be shared very well. I'll do my bit to share it to as many of the groups I'm connected with. And I can imagine a lot of people will have their own personal questions and maybe stuff for you. So I'll say to everyone on this video, Elaine does lives as well on her own platforms, which I'll be adding all the links for on this. And they do hold her son or her son's partner. They would ask questions to Johnathon from off the live. So, you know, people will be able to try and get their chance at asking questions. And of course, you know, I understand a lot of people did ask me if I could ask lots of questions, but I wouldn't be able to go through them all because there's so many. So I tried my best to cover as much as I could that would cover a few different spectrums of topics and subjects. I'm sure everyone was very impressed to hear about the 1800s because we're learning a lot about the 1800s and the world today, and it's almost like a massive reset. So I think that was good to get that covered as well. And I think, you know, there's one or two very important things though, Elaine. Won't be worried about today, but in a couple of days I'll send you a message. I'll give you a call. I've got a friend who's quite high and important towards this awakening and change, and he's done a lot of work. What is it? He had a few people that are spiritualists apparently contact him and try and talk to him about things, but he was unsure. And because he knew about speaking with yourself, he asked me if he would be able to personally have a chat with you at some point because he feels that that's a trustable situation because you haven't approached him. And he doesn't know if he's getting himself into a situation where these people are approaching him for any other reason. So it's something, you know, I think there's a couple of people that would like to speak to you at some point, but I'll arrange that with you in a couple of days for them.
Yeah. Oh, who's that?
Say again, sorry.
Who's that?
I'll say it off here. You see, I'll say it off here because the case. Yeah, certainly. Yeah. So I don't think. Again, people are accepting the spiritual things now, and he does notice that quite a few people had contacted him and started to speak to him about things. So I'll discuss that with you. But all I'd like to say is thank you ever so much for giving us this opportunity tonight. It's been absolutely brilliant. So I really appreciate your time. And I'll make sure all the platforms, your YouTube and stuff, are added into this after. And we'll get it out there and shared. And of course, this will not be the last time we hear off Elaine and Johnathon. Something I'd like to say would be, it's definitely. I've watched nearly all of her videos. And I've got to say, guys, if you haven't, go on her YouTube channel and you catch up on some of the videos, and you'll see some amazing things have been covered. Pretty much most of the questions I've been through tonight have already been covered in some of the other videos. So I'll just try to blend a few together into this video tonight, and a couple of new questions, really. So thank you very much, Elaine.
Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure meeting you, and whoever's watched tonight, thank you for putting your time aside to come on here. It's all about spreading the word about and getting people who are just awakening to all of this. I wish you luck in doing it all. It's not an easy journey, I must say. It's a very questioning, testing journey of this life, but if you're a strong survivor, you'll get through anything.
That's it. Well, we've got a war to win, guys. So let this be the beginning of the powerful start of all of us now. Finding out. That's it. So, well, thank you very much, Elaine, and thank you very much, guys. I love you all, and we shall speak to you again soon. Please share this video around to get it out to others, and great times ahead. I'm sure it'll be a bumpy road, but we've definitely got some great times ahead. Cheers, Elaine. Say that. Bye-bye.